Okay, LO stands for logistics. Okay, LO full form is what? Logistics. Okay, as I said, using LO, we can extract entire. Okay, using LO, we can extract entire logistics related data. That is like sales, production, purchase, inventory, where all the material moves across the organization. That all comes under what? Logistics. Okay. So now using this LO we can extract what? Data related to logistics. So finance will not come under logistics, HR will not come under logistics. Fine. Then, so on what is that I said? In the case of LO extraction, what is it now? Data sources ready-madely given. So what we discussed in case of LO. Okay. So in case of LO, logistics extraction, what is it now? Data sources ready-madely. So you need not create any data source, you need not generate any data source. So, right, so when I say data source is ready-madely given, what is that? Out of data source is a combination of three things. Out of this which is ready-madely given, extract structure is ready-madely given. Okay, extract structure is. So, the link to the ready-made extract structure is given from something called as setup tables. What is that now? The link to the ready-made extract structure is given from what? Setup tables. So these are also setup tables are also ready-madely given. So they are called as the application specific tables. So like for every application, like for sales, one set of tables will be there. For production, one set of tables will be there. For purchase, one set of tables will be there. Like application specific, they are called as what? Application specific tables. Okay. So now, what we discussed, I have shown you on the day also. How was that? So I have this is my setup table, sir. And this setup tables has some partitions, I said, right? The setup tables have some partitions, and the link to this extract structure, that is, when you trigger your info package, where is data is coming from? Extract structure is connected to what? Setup tables, right? That means when you trigger your info package, data will be coming from where? Setup tables. But I don't have any data in the setup tables. Before starting my extraction, what I said, I have to push my data from the, suppose this is VBAK, and let us say this is VBAP like this. So you have to push your data from database tables to your setup tables. That's what we call as a statistical setup method. So when I do the statistical setup, data will be pushed from the database tables to setup tables, and setup tables will be filled up with part data. So like I have different partitions in this method: header part, item part, and so depending upon your requirement, what data you want to extract, according to that you have to choose your data sources, right? So now that is how it is. So now, so this setup tables is also. So now what are the things ready-madely given? One is your data source, that means extract structure, and at the same time the setup tables also ready-madely given. Okay? Right. Now what is it? See? So first, where do we start now? We will start with the naming conventions of the naming conventions. These are ready-made, right? So now I am going to start with what will be the names of the ready-made object that is given by. So now first we are starting with naming convention of what? Data source. So any LO data source you consider it starts with 2 LIS. The LO data source starts with what? 2 LIS, then underscore. So after 2 LIS it is what it takes? Underscore, then application component number. Application component number. So which application is it? So every application is given some number like sales, production. So sales means orders means 11, deliveries means 12, right? Purchase means 3. Like that. Every application will be given some. That is from which application you are expecting, either sales or production or purchase or inventory, like that. Okay? Underscore. Each application has different. Each application has different. What is it? Event, right? So under sales, you have order, delivery, and so order means VA, right? Delivery means VC, billing means VB, like that. Each application will have different. So from from application, which event you want, and each event will have different what? Levels, right? HDR means header. Suppose if you put same thing, but at the end if you put ITM means it's a item related data source. If you put SCL means that's a schedule line related data source, like that. Which application? That is how it stores, right? I said application, sub-applications has different events. Each event will have different levels. So what will be the data source name now? See, 2 LIS underscore 11 is your application component, VA is the event, followed by what? HDR. So this is the name of the data source for what? Sales order. So 11 means sales, VA means order. Suppose you want sales order item data source. Or then what is that now? VA ITM. Clear? Suppose you want sales order schedule line. The schedule line will be VA like this. So now depending upon your requirement, choose which data source you require. Clear now? So now suppose you want to extract sales order header and item, so then you have to use how many data sources now? 2 data sources, VA HDR and VA. Now while installing that ready-made content, BA content, I shown you something called as there was a ready-made cube called sales overview cube. I said for a sales overview means you load order plus deliveries plus billing. Entire sales data I'll put it into one cube. I said in that case, what you have to use? Sales order header and item, delivery header and item, billing header and item. Totally how many data sources I use? 6 data sources I use, and we load it into one particular cube of BI. Depends upon the requirement what data you want to extract. According to that you have to choose your data sources. Okay? Clear now? So the naming convention of the data source is clear. So then naming convention of what? Extract structure. So the name of your extract structure. Extract structure is also ready-madely given. So any extract structure you consider, it starts with MC. So it's a structure, so you don't have any underscore or something. Continue like this itself. Application component number. Okay, application component number. Right? Then what is it? Event. Followed by what? 0. Then whether it is header or item or okay. So suppose this is your data source. For this data source, now what is that extract structure now? Clear? And same way for this data source also, the extract structure is what? MC11 VA 0 ITM. This is again MC11 VA 0 schedule. Clear now? Okay? So like that, this is what is the name of your extract structure. And next is setup tables, right? So setup tables will be what? See the name of setup tables will be name of extract structure, name of extract structure. At the end, you have to put what? Setup. Clear now? What is that setup table name? What is that extract structure name? And so that is your setup tables name. So like this, this is your naming conventions of your. Right. So any doubts as of now? Is it clear? Okay. Then, so I'll move further. Now, so now, what is that now we are discussing now? Steps to configure for your LO extraction. So how do you configure for your so setup tables are the application specific tables. As I already said you like, what is the use of this setup tables is, I am not directly fetching it from the database tables, right? So based upon the requirement, you can choose your data sources. It has some partitions. So as we have to push it, the data into some other particular place, so where we are pushing is to my setup tables. To extract your data for the first time, initial data will be coming from where? From the setup tables. Okay? So now I think once I finish it off, you will come across you can still clearly, once I draw the data flow. So still here, I just shown you roughly. Now I will be drawing the actual flow of data, how data comes and where it goes, then you can clearly understand it. Okay, right. Now, so what is that now? We are going to discuss with the So how do you configure for your, that is at the implementation time, right? If you want to configure for LV extraction, what are the steps that you have to follow? Now what is that we discussed, right? So what we said, data source is ready-madely given. Data source is ready-madely. So ready-made objects are in which version? Ready-made objects are available in which version? Ready-made objects are available in which version? New, active, or modified, or delivered? Ready-made objects are in active version. What I discussed? All BA content objects, yes, all BA content objects are available in a version called delivered. All the ready-made objects given by SAP are available in which version? All this. Same way my data source is ready-made. So what you have to do? Can I use it directly? I cannot use delivered version object directly. First what you have to do? You have to install it. So now what is your step 1 now? Step 1 is install business content. Business content means provided by SAP. So I am not calling it as a BI content. Remember why I am calling it as a business content? Data source is in R3 or BI? Data source is ready-madely given in R3 side. Not in BI, right? So its data source is available in R3 side. So that means what you are doing now? That's why it's not, it's business content means it is in R3 side now. So where do I need to install it? Where do we need to install it? R3 or BI? So step 1 has to be done in where? R3. Yes. So don't get confused. People will get confused here. They think like installing the business content data source is nothing but your BI content installation. This is not BI content installation. It is not. Right? Clear? So that is make it very clear. So step 1 you have to do it in R3, wherein you have to install your ready-made. So what are the data sources you want? You have to install them. So once you install, what happens? It creates a copy from. It creates what? A copy from delivered version into active version. Okay. So for this installing your business content data source, you have to go with a T code called, the T code is RS A5. Okay, what is the T code you have to use? This RS A5. Okay, so go with the T code called RS A5. So now, for you, if you want to understand, I'll just show you that. Anyhow, tomorrow when I go with the practical class, you can see clearly. So just, so I'm logging into R3 side. So what is it? RSFI? Installation of data sources from business content. Clear? So which data sources you want? Suppose R3 related, under this what you want? Whether you want sales, right? Or PP, PM, MM, logistics general, so all these are your ready-made. So under SD also you can see now, what is that? Sales document, sales order header date. What is the name? 2LIS_11_ VAHDR. Like that. These are all the ready-made data sources that has been given by SAP. You have to install them. Clear now? What is the first step now? So install your business content, data sources. Where you have to do in R3 side, what is the T code you have to use? RSAFI. Then step 2. Excuse me. Okay, step 2 is log on. LOGON, log on. To an application called log on to an application called LO cockpit. Okay, LO cockpit is one centralized application where you can work with your LO extraction. So just like your workbench what you are using, so same way you have one centralized application for LO extraction that is called as LO cockpit. So the T code for this is LBWE. Now what is the why I am generally going to this LO cockpit is what you will do there. Basically what is that you are going to do in your LO cockpit is just observe here. So I think you have to reconnect to your TeamViewer. Please reconnect to TeamViewer again, because it's just like a everyone reconnect to TeamViewer. So what is that now? Log on to an application called what? LO. So why I'm going to log on to this LO cockpit is, now what I said, your extract structure is ready-madely given. My extract structure is, so let us say this is my extract structure. Okay, this is what? And let us say this is my table. So data is stored in the form of a, suppose you want extracting using a data source called sales order header means. What does that mean? From which table you are extracting is nothing but from your VBAK table only, right? Suppose these are the fields of your, suppose my VBAK table has some 100 fields. So like this, how many fields you have? But extract structure is ready-madely given. Imagine in your extract structure he has given only some 10 fields. The ready-made extract structure provided by SAP is what? The standard table has how many fields? Standard table has 100 fields, but the extract structure provided by SAP is only some 10 fields. So I am not satisfied with my ready-made extract structure. So what I want to do, I need to add some particular fields to my. So what you can do? Wait a second like this. Okay, suppose this is your extract structure. Okay, so I have some ready-madely has given some suppose 10 fields. But when it comes to my table, so in your table, let us say this is your extract structure. But this is my what's happening. Okay, so my table has suppose 100 fields, but extract structure is given only 10 fields. Now what is my requirement? I need to add, we need to add some more fields to my, okay, this is your extract structure and this is the fields of your table. So table has some 100 fields. So standard table has 100 fields. So now extract structure has some 10 fields. What is my requirement I am saying now? I need to add some, suppose field number 15 from my table has to be added to my, so like that. So like this, I am not satisfied with my ready-made extract structure. I have to, so you have to maintain your extract structure. Basically, you will go to your which application now? Your LO cockpit. So now, so this is a standard table defaultly provided by SAP. How many fields? 100. Suppose now this table I have customized. This table what has been done in R3, it has been customized. Suppose point requirement they are adding 2 more. So these are not ready-madely provided by SAP. These are user-defined fields in the your table. Now, if you add these 100 fields, out of these 100 fields, any field you add, data will be populated to your extract structure. But for these 2 fields, if you add to your extract structure, will any data will come? Data will not be coming to your. That means at that time you have to enhance your data source. So if you are adding this field, what you have to do? You have to write some ABAP code to populate the data to your extract structure. That is what you call generally data source enhancement. So what is data source enhancement? If you have some user-defined field in your tables, if I am adding to my extract structure, in order to populate the data for this user-defined fields to your extract structure, you have to enhance your data source. For that, you have to write some enhancement. That is what is data source enhancement. Clear? But if you add out of these 100, there is no problem. But when you add extra these things, you have to enhance your data source. Now, you are maintaining your extract structure. I am saying in your LO cockpit application. That means where you have to do this step 2 now. Step 2 has to be performed where? R3 or BI? Maintaining the extract structure I am saying. Extract structure is an R3 system or BI system? Extract structure R3 system, right? The TSA, that is transfer structure, is in a BI system. So now, this step 2 also you have to do where? In your R3 system, okay? So okay? Done. So what is the T code for that is? LBWE. So then after this what you have to do? So once you go with the T code called LBWE, suppose you are in R3 now, LBWE. Now, what I am doing, I am disturbing my extract structure, right? I am going to maintain my data, so that is my extract structure. So, before starting maintaining, so what we will do to avoid any inconsistencies, so first we will make my data source as inactive. First you have to make your data source as what? Inactive. So because I am going to disturb it so that no one can use this at the time of maintenance. That's why what I am doing, I am making it as. So how do you make it? Just simple here. So you have 11. This is LO cockpit. What is there here? Active or inactive. So just if you click active, it will become inactive. If you click inactive, it will become active. Then after this, what is that B is? In a step 2 only, maintain the extract structure. So what you will do basically, you can add the fields to your ready-made right. Add the particular fields to your ready-made extract structure. Okay. So what is maintenance is like here? You can see what is that. Can you see your maintenance? If you click on this, so it will show you now the fields of the table as well as fields of your extract structure. So now you can observe the ready-made extract structure is given how many fields? Some 26 fields. These are the fields of your extract structure now. And right side is you can see the fields of your table. So what are the fields you want? Select them and you have to add it to what it has become now. So that is what is maintenance.
Maintenance is custom defined or anything?
Anything. So it's not only custom defined. So right now this table is not having any custom defined fields. Okay, these are all the ready-made fields only. So I'm selecting them. No, so this is extract structure, no? Extract structure is ready-madely given now. So extract structure has all the fields of your table.
Custom defined.
Same thing. So whether it is custom defined fields or ready-made fields in your VBA table, so just you have to select them and you have to add it to your extract structure. That is maintenance. Then very important is to specify the update mode. Nothing to do in the setup tables. Nothing you have to do for the setup tables. Just that's what I said. Now you have to enhance your data source. That's more than enough. So setup tables is application specific tables. There actually data will not be stored in the form of. It will not have any fields or something. It just maintains the pointer of your tables. Okay. So what is that now? Next is you have to specify your. This is very important. So update mode defines where the LUWs has to be updated. Now what we are saying, the first time you are fetching it from setup tables, right? Initial update. So when you are doing delta update, where should data come from? Excuse me. Okay, update mode defines where the LUWs has to be. So you have different options there. What is it now? Update mode. You have 3 different options here. One is direct delta. Now observe now how is that? So how we are performing. So just observe the flow now. Now let us say the line to the right side is your BI system and the line to the left side is my R3 system. This is my R3 and this is your BI. Now what I am doing, so what is that basically? You have your database tables now. So let us say these are your tables. Okay, so let us say this is what? VB, AK. Then let us say this is VB, AP. And let us say this is your. Like this you have some Now how is data populating in these tables? When someone creates a sales order or someone changes a sales order, so using these transactions, data gets populated into. So when end user creates a sales order, so VA01 is a T code. When I create a sales order, so data will be populating into these particular tables. Now what is my requirement? I am saying I have a something called as, we have something called as what? Setup tables. So we have this setup tables have some partitions we are saying that. So setup tables are different partitions now. Okay, like header, item, and what? Schedule that. Okay. Now, what is your requirement? I have now one extract structure now. This is your, what is it? Extract structure. So the link to the ready-made extract structure is given from what? From the setup tables. So once extract structure is ready, what you can do? You can replicate this extract structure to your BI side. So once I replicate, what happens? Your transfer structure of BI, that is what? My PSA form. Once we activate it, what happens now? The transfer structure of source system is generated. Okay. So now, so data from this to this, it will go to. Okay. This is what is this, and finally you have one. What? Info cube. So between this what? Transformations. Okay, this is the flow, right? Okay, this is your transformations. Okay. And when I trigger my info package, when we trigger our info package, where is data coming from? From the setup tables, right? So when you trigger your info package, data will be coming from so I'm triggering one info package now. So data through this flow will be going to what? But in this info package, what we are selecting? Initial update, right? So once I trigger my info package, data will be going to my PSA. Okay, right. But is there any data in your setup tables? Before triggering info package, you have to push your data from database table to setup table, right? So now I want to push my data from this table to this table. So data has to go from one table to. So what is required? A channel should be there, that is called as a structure. So now, same way, so this is all ready-made tables, right? So every ready-made table is given something called as communication structure. Every table is given something called as what? So MC followed by table name is called as your. So this is already given by SAP. You need not worry about that. This is already given by SAP. So table name prefixed with what? MC is called as the communication structure of the table. So how data from the database table shown in the front end is also through what? The communication structure only. Okay? Through your. So now this link is already provided by what? SAP. You need not worry about this. This link is already given by SAP. Then I am performing. So now let us say, imagine the time here is 9 o'clock. I have, let us say, 1000 records in my which table? In the VBAK table. So let us say the time is at 9 o'clock. How many records I have here? Now I am starting a process called a statistical setup at what time? We are starting a statistical setup at 9 o'clock. Okay, this is what is called as. What is that I am saying? So we are performing something called as statistical. So statistical setup is a process which brings the historical data from database tables to your setup tables. So let us say for bringing this data, imagine it is taking some 15 minutes. For bringing the data to setup tables, how much time it is taking? Let us say 15 minutes. So let us say by the time it reached 9:15, how many records comes to the setup table now? Info package. Okay? Info package. And let us say it is taking another 15 minutes. So now, what time data comes to your PSA now? So, by the time it is 9:30, how many records are coming to your PSA? By the time it is 9:30, how many records are coming to the PSA now? It is 1000 records. Okay, fine. Done? So now, this is first time load. Now let us say, we started creating one sales order at sales order at what time? 9:40. So when I create a sales order at 9:40, what happens? This data will be getting updated into where? Into the live tables. Now from there, where it has to push is nothing but your update mode. So earlier what I said, whether it is initial or delta data was coming from live table itself generated. But in your right LO extraction, first time data is coming from where? Setup tables, initial update. So when you do delta update, where the data has to come from, that is decided by your update mode. So now you have different options in the update mode. What is that? Direct, queued and unserialized. Right? So now, update mode defines where your LUWs has to be updated. So you have different types are there.
Can you please hold on for a second? I just have a doubt.
Yeah, tell me.
Can you show the diagram for me?
What doubt you have?
In your model, what is the specific here? Because you are saying
Setup tables is for the first time. Initialization has to be done, right?
yeah, you have extraction also in between, right?
Yes, yes.
It's a replica of it, right?
Which one?
Genetic extraction.
Hmm.
From the source, we are getting the replica of it in the extract structure, right?
Yes.
The same copy of it is coming in the extract structure.
But here the extract structure is not same copy, right? It is ready-madely given here, right? Yeah. Yes, it is ready-madely given. You are not putting the load on your live system here. I am not extracting directly from my VBAK table.
You are pulling the data into setup tables, right?
Yes, I am pulling the data into setup tables. So I said you no. Setup tables.
From there it's going to
Extract structure, exactly.
so extract tables are ready-made tables.
Extract structure is ready-made given, along with setup tables also ready-made given.
Okay.
So now what I said, let me finish it up. See, what is it now? I have setup tables is application specific table I am saying. So I have for orders one setup table is there, for delivery one setup table is there, billing another setup table is there. So that I can combine the data. Orders plus deliveries plus billing, I said I can load it into one particular part. Understand? Generate, as I said, if you want, you can extract only event wise. You can combine only event specific. You want to combine different events, what you have to do? Okay? Yeah, tell me. Go on.
Yeah, then we are creating a view for it, but here header items table is there, right?
Yes, partition charger.
Only the purpose of setting tables is the
First time load.
partition.
The main thing is for the partitions and for the first time load.
Okay, from there extract system log data is from extract system is a source given by the SOP, right?
Yes.
Already it's given. From there, when we replicate it, it's going to DA and transfer it to the PA.
Yes. Yes.
And then in process 2, second time what is happening now?
That's what I'm showing you now.
Every time when we trigger the info package, it's coming directly from setup tables, right? So
From
this is
first time it is coming from setup tables.
first time.
First time, initial update. Delta update it will not come from setup tables. Delta update is from other place. That is what I'm going to show you now.
Okay. And this one.
Yeah. So now, there are different types of update mode. First one is called direct delta. Go on mute. What is the first type of update mode is? Direct delta. So when you use our update mode as direct delta, what happens? All the LUWs will be updated into something called as delta Q. All the LUWs will be updated into something called as, what is it? Delta Q. So now what happens? When I trigger my info package at what time? 9:15. Data is going to my PSA at 9:30, right? So once data comes to the PSA at 9:30, that is your initialization is successful. So at 9:30, what happens in R3 side? One queue will be formed. Something called as, what is that now? That is called as delta Q. So the T code for this is called RS-A7. So what happens now? So when you trigger, when first initialization is done, I think there is some problem with your internet. You keep on disconnecting it. Okay, go on mute. So now, go on mute. Ready-made data source name I have given, right? 2ls underscore 11 underscore VAHDR. That is the name of the ready-made data source. Okay? When I say data source is ready-made source. So now, what is that happening here in RP side? So at 9:30, what time it is forming? Once your info package is successful, once it fetches the data from your setup tables at 9:30 in R3 side, what happens? One delta Q is formed. So now whenever you start creating a sales order, let us say I am creating a sales order at 9:40, first variable store into your live tables. From there, it will push that particular record. Once updation happen to your live table, it will not stop there. What it will do? it will push that particular record into. So let us say between 9:30 to 10:30, some 10 transactions has happened. What happens? 10 records get updated into the table. As soon as it updates into the table, what it will do? It will automatically push this particular data into what? Delta Q. So how many records will come now? Record 1, record 2, like this. How many records will come? 10 records. And when you trigger your info package, let us say I am triggering my info package at 10:30 by selecting what? You are selecting info package. This is horrible. So when you are selecting info package by selecting what? Delta update. Where is data coming from now? From my delta Q to my. Now when I trigger my info package at 10:30, so these 10 records will be moved from your delta Q to BI side. So now moved means delta Q will become empty. Then it is ready for next collection. Suppose again from 10:30 to 11:30, some business is happening. First where it is storing? It stores into the live table. From there immediately it will push it into delta Q. So next time onwards, where do you extract data from? From the data will be coming from your delta Q. Understand logic? See, initial update is from the setup tables. Delta update data is coming from what? Delta Q. Clear now? What is delta Q? So if you use LUWs will be updated into what? Delta Q. So what is the T code for this is? RS-A7. So the T code for this is what? RS. Now, what is the problem here is if you use direct delta as your update mode. Now what I am saying, suppose I am creating a sales order at 9:40. First where it is storing? Into VBAK table. From there it will push into delta Q. That means what are the LUWs that are updating here? Are updated in the front end. Are updated in what? Front end. That means once we create a sales order at 9:40 and I'll click save, what happens? This data will go and store into the database table. Then from there it has to push into delta Q. Until the updation takes place to the delta Q, front end your application will be kept waited. So what happens? It degrades your processing performance. So now what is the problem? See. Okay, so all the LUWs will be updated to the delta Q. In the front end, which degrades what? Processing performance. So that's why we prefer delta Q when we have what? Less amount of load. Clear now? So what is that? See, what is the problem is? What are the LUWs that will get updating into the delta Q or updated in the front end? What you have seen front end means what happens? I said until the process happens, your application has to be kept idle. So which degrades your processing performance. That's why we generally don't prefer direct delta as our update mode. Right. So any doubts with direct delta as the update mode? Yes? Hello? Venkat? Sudhi? and Rina. Okay, right. Now, so that's why we are going to use a different types of update modes. How many you can see here? 3, right? But in the earlier version there are 4 types are there. Earlier version means I am speaking about version of what? R3. Right now this update mode option setting where you are doing R3 or BI. That means I am speaking about version of R3. Right now you are using version is ECC 6.0. Before to that it is ECC 5.0. Before to that it is SAP 4.7. Until that SAP 4.7 you have 4 types of update modes. From ECC 5 onwards only 3 types are there. So in latest version our ECC 6 also you can see only. So the second type of update mode is called serialized weekly update. Okay, what is that now? Serialized. So this you don't find in the latest version. It has been obsolete. From ECC 5 version of R3. Okay. So can you see anything called serialized V3 here? You don't have, right? So before understanding serialized V3 update, first you have to understand how data updates. Any data updating into the database, we say it has a 3 types of updates. I think this is already I have discussed. V1, V2, V3. So data to the database updates in 3 ways. Okay, what is the first one is called? V1 means synchronous updating. Synchronous update means data will get updated and again you will get a feedback saying that data has been. So now on the day let us say I try to change a sales order. Suppose once I change a sales order, what happens? Data will save into the database and again you will get a status saying sales record has been saved. So that means any data that is updating to your live tables is always what? V1 kind of update. So the database tables it's always live tables is what? V1. So now what happens? One record will update and again you will get a, so just like suppose your delivery report, suppose you send an SMS, again you will get back a delivery report saying record as SMS has been updated or something. So if you use like V1, what is the problem? V1, what is the problem? The record has to update, again a feedback comes, next record starts. So what happens? The load on the server will become more. So it starts degrading your processing performance. Then you have something like V2. V2 is called asynchronous update. So asynchronous update means data gets updated but you will not get any feedback. But again what is the data updating is in the front end. So now what is the data coming and updating into the delta queue? This is what type of update now? This is what is V2. So what is the data coming to the delta queue is what? First data is storing in the VGK table, from there it is pushing into, it's just pushing, but it will not send any feedback to the, understand logic? So that means it's now only one-way traffic. But what is the problem? Updation happens in the front end. So on that day while installing also I said, we never install it in the front end, we say install it in the background. What is the use of background? Background job will be running, front end you can start working whatever you want. So your application will not be idle, it will improve your processing performance. So that's why, so generally we don't prefer V2 also. What is the best option is? V3 is asynchronous with what? Background updation. Asynchronous with what? Background. So what happens? Background data will be updating. Front end, you can start with your application whatever you want. So the best option is what? V3. But what is the problem here? I said for delta Q, LUWs are updating in the front end. That's why to avoid this, what is that? You have another option. What is that called? Serialized V3 update. Now, what happens is when we use serialized V3 update, so when we use serialized V3 update, LUWs will be updated into something called update queue. Okay, the T code for this is SM13. To look at your update queue, you have to go with LUWs will be updated into what? Update queue in the form of, what is that? See, it's not entire record is coming and updating into the update queue. A pointer will be pushed into your, see now how is it? So here I said it is like coming in the form of what? The entire record, order number I changed, suppose 6000. The values exactly record will come stored into. So this is what is your this is what? Direct delta as your update mode, right? What happened? Shit. That's all the figure. Huh? Under outline. What happens? Your LUWs will not be updating into directly into your delta Q. Your LUWs will be updated into something called as, what is that now? Update Q. Okay. So how it is updating? It will be in the form of a pointer. This guy is irritating. So now, how the LUWs are updating here is in the form of. So now what I am saying, this is again like V2 only. What is the data coming to update queue is? So now you have finished your load at, this was our timing, was 9:30 I was saying, right? Suppose this is 9 o'clock. So here data is coming is at 9:15. Then here data is coming at 9:30. So let us say I am creating one sales order at 9:40. First where it stores? Into my live tables. From there, it will push a pointer. Just saying, right, let us say it's a token number 1. It's not in the form of a record, it just maintains a pointer saying this was the time the record has updated into this particular table, like that. So pointers will be maintained, not a record. So how much time it takes to push a pointer? It's just probably a small amount of time. So after this, what we'll do, we will run a background job called as, so we are going to run a background job called as what? V3 job. So this is your update queue, then this is called as a delta queue. So now we run a background job called as V3 job. So when I run this background job called as a V3 job, so according to the pointer what it has been updated, so the data will be pushed from your database tables into my delta Q in the background. According to the pointer, the data will be pushed into your where? Delta Q in the. Now how is the updation taking place to the delta Q now? It is in the background. Understand what is the advantage here? So the LUWs will be updated in the delta Q in the form of tokens. So what you have to do? You have to run what? A background job called as what? V3 job. Then what happens? LUWs will be updated into what? Delta Q in the background according to what? According to the pointers, that is the tokens. Clear now? But what is the problem there is, whatever the V3 job you are running, so it is going to follow the sequence of first in, first out. So which pointer has come first? Which token has come first? That token will be updated first. Then next, second one. Now what happens? Due to starting, it degrades your V3 job performance, and at the same time, suppose there is some problem with the third one. What happens now? Will it update? And what about the fourth one? Until and unless the third is updated, fourth is not. That means any one small issue also, enter further updation will stop. So now, so what is the problem? See, that's why it has been obsolete. So now what is that? So V3 job follows the sequence of V3 job follows what? Sequence of what is that? First in, first out. So what is going to happen there? Due to starting, it degrades what? V3 job performance. So due to sorting, it degrades your V3 job performance, and at the same time what happens? And any one small error, enter further updation will stop. Clear now? So what is, that's why it has been removed out. Okay, so any doubts with the serialized V3 update? Yes. So when you have to schedule the V3 job is before triggering of your info package. Because when you trigger your info package, where is data is coming from? Info package data is coming from your initial update is coming from the setup tables. Next time onwards from the delta Q, right? But delta Q data will come only once I run the V3 job. Okay. So any doubts in that particular part? Fine. I'm going further now. So what is that other part now? Unserialized.
So which one we have to use then? Like, is it
I'll come. So the serialized V3 is not there. So you have three options. One is direct delta. So when I can go with direct delta is when you have less amount of load. Okay. Clear? That is one direct delta. So next, what is that other option? First, let me finish all the three types of update modes. I will tell you when you can go for that. Unserialized V3 update. What is that now? Same as serialized, but no sorting. Okay, unserialized V3 update is same as your serialized, but there is no. So now, what is that now? So this is what is unserialized So where your data updates are again in the form of into update queue, but when you run a V3 job, there is no first in, first out.
Lot of difference of 7 negatives.
Please. Right. So now, when you use unserialized V3 update also, it's same as serialized. LUWs will be updated in the form of a token. Right? So you have to run a V3 job. So LUWs will be pushed according to the tokens into your what? Delta Q in the background. Fine? So then from there you bring it into, suppose I am running a V3 job. Imagine there is some issue with the third one. Will third be updated? No. What happens? It's unserialized. So it will start updating. So whichever is problem, it will just keep aside, it will update the other records. But whatever the problem it is keeping aside, it will not maintain any log for that. That is one issue. And one more thing, it is what? So it is not following any sequence of, suppose using LO extraction, imagine you are loading into DSO. If you are loading it into, in DSO what happens? Data gets overwritten. Suppose, imagine at 9 o'clock, take an example, I have sales order number 1, the value was some 4,000. So when I load it to my, it will go to setup tables, what is the value there? Same 4,000. Ultimately value going to the cube is what? 4,000. Okay, this is your first time, right? Let us say 940, this order number has been changed from 4,000 to, what is that now? 940, order number has been changed from, order value is changed from what? So first where it will push? The token 1 refers to which data? Order number is equal to 5,000. And let us say at 10 o'clock it has changed from 5,000 to 6,000. So token 2 refers to data what? Order number is equal to, S1 is equal to 6,000. So now, if it is, when you are running your V3 job, suppose it is not following any sequence, what happens? Token 2 is coming first, imagine, what is that token 2 value? 6,000. Token 1 value is coming, what is that value? S1 is. Now when I am loading into my DSO, what happens? Already S1 is 4,000. What happens when 2 records are coming? 4,000 is overwritten by DSO, data gets what? Overwritten, 4,000 is overwritten by what? 6,000. 6,000 is overwritten by, but actually the data in the source is what? So when you miss the sequence of records, what happens now? There is a chance that DSO, there is a mismatch of data. That means if you are loading into DSO, I cannot use unserialized V3 update. If you are loading into the cube, there is no problem. But if you are loading into DSO, you cannot use unserialized. Why? Because it is missing the sequence. The sorting sequence is missed. So what happens at that time? Mismatch of data. So using unserialized, we cannot load it into what? If you are loading into the cube, no problem. But if you are loading into DSO, so I can't use. Here, why I cannot use is clear. Because when you run the V3 job, it is not following any sequence. That means the required entry missing. Sequence is missing. That's why. So you use the fourth one. SAP recommends us to use this. What is that now? Cube delta as your update mode. SAP recommends us to use what? Which is the best option is queued delta. So same thing. So when you use queued delta, LUWs will be updated into something called extractor queue. Okay, the T code for this extractor queue is LBWQ. So LUWs will be extracted into the extractor queue. Again, same. How is that now? In the form of pointers, that is tokens. Okay, queued delta. So what is going to happen now? The same thing again. So your LUWs will not be into your so this is what is that? Extractor queue. So where it is updating is code is what is LBW. Same thing. So now how many tokens are there here? Right. So now you have to run a V3 job. But here the V3 job what you are running, this we generally call as a collective run. What is that? It is called as a. Now as of now you are seeing serialized and unserialized. What was happening? Token by token, token by token, record by record it is updating, right? But when you run your V3 job here, what it will do? It will take all these. How many tokens are there? That means from the table, what happens? All these 4 records will be pushed into delta queue in one shot. It's not like record by record updation. What happens now? It's a collective run. Collective means what? LUWs will be updated into delta queue collectively. That means actually earlier you can say like it is 4 LUWs. 1 LUW, 1 LUW. But here we will say like it's only 1 LUW. But what it consists of what? How many records? 4 records. Understand? So like so what happens now? So when it is pushing collectively, there is no missing of any sorting sequence is not missing. At the same time, any issue happens, either entire data comes or no data comes. So then again you can repeat your V3 job so that you can fetch back your data collectively. Understand what is the advantage of queued delta is? So what you have to do? LUWs will be updated into. So now what you have to do? Same thing. Run a. What you have to do? You have to run a V3 job, which is called as what? Collective run. So you have to run a V3 job called as collective run. What happens? LUWs will be updated into delta Q collectively. Clear now? What is the advantage with Q delta? That's why SAP is recommending us to use Q delta as the update mode. But when you have less amount of data, you can go with direct delta. So if you use direct delta, no need to run any background job. Directly, the LUWs are already directly pushed into your delta queue. But if it is other than direct delta, unserialized or queued, what you have to do? You have to run a background job called as what? V3 job. Clear now? So what is update mode is clear? Any doubts in the update mode concept? Anyone? Yes? Hello? So out of these 3 options, you have to select any one option. So now, as you know, here you have 3 options. Out of 3 options, you have to select. That is under step 2, point number C is to specify your update mode. So you have to select any one of this particular option. Okay. So what are the 3 options you have? Direct delta, then right, unserialized and serialized is not there. Unserialized and queued delta. So under step 2, point C is clear. Specify your update mode. Then under step 2 only point D now. So under step 2 point D is generate the data source. So I have disturbed my ready-made data source. What do you have to do? You can change what you have did. You have to impact on it to your. You have to inform it to your data source. That's what has to be done. You have to generate your data source. So after generating the data source, finally, what has to be done now? You have to make your data source as what? Active. Clear now? So now once you make it as active, its data source is ready. So you can start replicating it. See how is that? Very simple. This is A, this is B, this is C, D. Generate the data source and again make it as active. So that's it. So you have to repeat these steps for all the data sources which you want. So once it is done, what I can do? I can start replicating it to my BI side. But before replicating, what we will do? Let us say I will bring my data from database tables to. This is also done in R3. So that is what is the step 3 I am saying. So step 3 is what we are calling, let us say, data migration steps. What is that we are using is data. What is that I am performing? Data migration steps. So why is this data migration steps is for to bring the data from. So where you have to do step 3. This is also in R3 system only. The data migration steps is to bring the data from what? Database tables to setup tables. Now understood what is the use of setup tables? Setup tables are for initialization purpose. Okay. So now, what is that C data migration step? First step I will say as a safety measure, delete the contents of what? Setup tables. Just as a safety precaution, what you have to do? You have to delete your contents of your what? Setup tables. Just a safety precaution. So for this, you have to use a T code called LBWG. So what is the T code is? LBWG. Then B. Under this second point is lock, LOCK, lock the related T codes. So in this example, which T codes I have to lock is that VA01 and VA02. So why should I lock this T codes is, now I am starting the process at what time? 9 o'clock. I am doing the statistical setup at 9 o'clock. What time data is coming here? 9:15. Then I am triggering my info package at 9:15. What time data is going there? 9:30. That means initialization is done at what time? That means your delta Q is formed at what time? 9:30. Into the live tables. But from there will it push into any? Because there is no initialization that has been done. There is no delta Q. That means you are going to miss the data between 9 to 9:30. That is starting from the initialization until the delta Q is formed. You are going to lose your data. That's why what I will do, I will lock this VA01 so that no one can create a sales order or no one can change a sales order. So if that is the case, no one can create or change a sales order. What happens? No updations. That means delta Q is also. But once the delta Q is formed, I release these T codes, these locks. But if you are locking the T codes, means that's nothing but you are stopping your business. That's why it's a very careful activity, initialization. So data migration steps is only one time task. That's what you do at the time of initialization. Once delta Q is done, from next time on, it will start collecting the data. There is no problem from the next time. It's only problem for the first time. That's why what has to be done? You will lock your T codes. Okay? So, but that is not your task. Locking will be done by your basis consultant. Then after this, you have to run the statistical setup. So statistical setup is a process which brings the data from database tables to setup tables. So for this T code is SBIW. So once data comes to the setup tables, what I can start? So from step 4 onwards, it's all in BSI. So simple. What is it now? Replicate data source to BI. This all part is same again. Step 5 is what? What you can do? Activate the transfer structure of BI. Then next is install BI content target. Then next is, okay, once you install, you have to create a, what to be created? Transformations. Then next is what? Create a info package. So first time in the info package you select initial update. Data will be coming from the setup table. Then trigger a, what to be created in a GTP. So when you do this, data will go from your PSA to my info queue. Okay, so next, once initialization is the next time onwards only, you will be triggering info package and GTP to extract your updations. But next time onwards, you will be selecting in your info package what? The delta update radio button. So when you select delta update radio button, where is data is coming from? From your delta queue. But before to that, what you have to do? Run a V3 job to bring your data from the extractor queue to delta queue. Understand? So this is how you can configure it for your LO extraction. Okay? Clear now? So any doubts in this particular part?